All right, all right. You, family, food, and you know, laughter and stories and food and hugs and kisses and I've been away from all that, for 30 years, going almost 31 already. And every time I see it, man, I just, I got used to it. But that's what it's about, man. We're only here for a short while. What is it, 100 years? You're lucky you live 100 years, but it's actually a short life. You know?
Just a blink of the eye, you know. But
Yeah,
if you really think about it,
yeah.
yeah. So we definitely gotta make the best of it while we're here. And I definitely, I want to go ahead and thank you, for calling in again. Yesterday, we were on
Mhm.
for about 2 hours, and definitely,
Yeah.
gotta thank you for that because it's not easy, sitting through these calls, especially where you're at. You got a little small little room, and maybe you can even call it that.
Yes.
So you know.
It's the restroom. It's smarter than your restroom, homie. You
Eh,
know what I mean? Think
w-
about it.
on the plus side, at least you're single celled,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
you don't have a celly, because
I love that. Yeah, I got my thug mansion. I call it my thug mansion. Like, yeah, I'm in here by myself. I don't got to worry about getting a celly. I'm never gonna get a celly. They're never gonna get. Yeah, I earned it though. But yeah, where did I leave? I think I left out with me for trading my chain for
yeah.
a radio and little appliances that I couldn't wait to have.
Hey, but you know
So
what? Right,
yeah, yeah,
right now, before you
yeah. Go
start
ahead.
that, I
Uh
want to
huh.
go ahead and El Iceman is in here. I want to say hello to El Iceman. He was in here. He's been waiting, and he actually has a question in here
Okay, yeah.
for you before we get going, and he wants to know,
Okay.
uh, uh, when and how you learned how to become such a good cook on that stuff.
Oh man, you know what? Okay, so I had just turned. I think I was 17, and I used to go all the time, right? But my highlight was just running the water hose outside the area. So when you run the water hose outside the area, it keeps the heat because the helicopters fly above. It keeps the heat, the temperature in the little area, it keeps it lower, so that way the helicopters they can't detect it. And we used to go like high in the mountains where it gets foggy. So the best time to do it was when it was foggy. So every time it was foggy, I would go in and I'll watch. So I just started watching, like just paying attention and I'm real good at learning just from watching people do something. Like all I gotta see is once or twice, and I got this. So yeah, and so anytime you learn how to do something, you're always trying to do it better because that's just human nature. You're trying to be better than another person and competitive. So I've always like looked, and I mean I became real good at it. I used to add coloring to it, different colors, and give it like a little different tone to the color when it was done and all that. But yeah, so just from watching in time, I just I picked it up, man, and you know what? It becomes kind of like even though you don't mess with it, and the fumes they kind of get you. So it's a trip, man. It's like the devil's just driving you. It's hard to explain, but like if you're doing something that while you're doing that, you're doing something that's gonna cost a bunch of like you don't even know how many people are gonna get hurt by this. You know how many people are gonna get broke by this. How many people are gonna spend their rent money on this. So all that was I was thinking about so much shit, man, because that's how I am, man. Like I think about when I see something, I just don't look at. I'm not looking at what I'm looking. I'm looking at what how it got there and what it was before and what it what.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
That's crazy, man. I never pictured myself doing something like that, but I wanted the money. I wanted the money, You know, and you know what's crazy? I was the only one. You know, everybody was older. You know, I keep saying I was the youngest than I was. Everybody was older, and I hated wearing the gear. You know, the suit, the gloves, the mask, because when you want to scratch, when you're itching, because the salt, you use a lot of salt, and it goes airborne, and it makes you if it gets in your skin, it makes you itch, and you couldn't itch. So I'll be the only one in there with a Levi's and a Levi's shirt and boots, and everybody was telling me, "Hey, fool, you're crazy as hell. That shit's gonna mess you up when you get older." And sure enough, like when I get in fights, I break my hands easy. My bones became a little brittle, you know, from not wearing the protective gear. But yeah, I saw I got good at it, man. Just some time, just watching.
Thank you for sharing that with us,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we'll go ahead and go back to when you hit. I don't remember what prison you hit, but I remember you had mentioned that you had a gold chain, and you ended up switching or trading that chain with a Puerto Rican or a Boricua that was
yeah,
next to your cell.
yeah. He was right next door, and I remember my cell because everybody wanted it. I mean, in prison, look, in prison, a chain is no longer a regular chain like it is in the street. You know, everybody wearing gold on the street. You're so used to seeing everybody with gold that it's nothing. You know, in prison, that chain automatically is worth like 10 times that amount easily. You know, so like say you get a $300 chain, and that's figuratively speaking. I'm not gonna say 10 times, maybe 3 times. And so that's what you get. Like you wearing a chain, everybody wants to buy it from you, even the ones that are broke. They're trying to buy it from you, and you're like, well, you ain't got no money, you know. And yeah, so I thought the best thing to do was just go ahead and trade it for a TV and radio and tape player. Back then it was tape players, because I wasn't gonna sit there and wait, because it takes a while when you order it. You know, it was a long process to getting your stuff, and I just could not do that. I needed to distract my mind ASAP, you know. And a couple of homies were mad. They were jealous, you know. They're like, man, I asked you first. I go, yeah, but you didn't give me the deal that he gave me, you know. But yeah, so I ended up getting that. I ended up getting that, man. I filled up my little cell. And them cells are humongous. There was no way to, the funniest thing about driving up when, that's my first prison. I've never been in a cell that big. So I'm going from a little cell like these, because the receptions are little cells, to these big ass cells. They're like holding tanks. I'm like, what the hell? And so when I drove up, I'm like, damn, is this a holding tank or is this a cell? You know? And what I noticed, the very first thing I noticed was how high the bunks were. And I'm like, and my cellie's in the bottom bunk, you know. And my homeboy, he was from a hood right there in L.A. He was an older cat, and he had been down like 20 years already. And here comes this new kid. He never been in prison, so the respect level. I was focusing, making sure I know to use the restroom. I know and, I gotta make sure that, when you're using a number two, you lay one, you flush one. The regular that you wanna, your manners. Your manners was like the very first thing you want to pay attention to, because the manners, if you got bad manners, man, you're gonna get dealt with. And so, yeah, the beds were hella high, and I'm like, I drove up with my bedroll, and I'm looking at him, and he's, I don't have much. I just got like my little county stuff, my mail, my pictures, and my little smoker pack they gave me, and he introduced himself. I introduced myself to him, and I got a good bias from the dude, And he was an artist. The first thing I noticed, like he was drawing, and he's telling me, "Up, well, that's you up there, top bunk." And I'm looking, I go, God, I'm so embarrassed, because I don't want to sound like a, our pride when you're young, your pride is up there. Like you think you know it all, and you don't want to ask questions. You just want to go about it. And that bunk was so high, and I couldn't get myself to just try to climb up to it without asking. I'm like, hey dog, like, hey homeboy, like, how do I get up there? And the desk was like across right in front of the bunk, but right when you walk in, and I couldn't picture myself climbing, stepping into the desk, and then jumping into the bunk, because it was a pretty far leap. I was like, yeah, I can't make that leap. So I asked the homie, like, hey, dog, like, what's up? How do I get up there? And I remember that we just started laughing, because I guess everybody's tripping. That's what everybody asked. And then he just pointed towards the window. There's a window on the back wall. It's like a real thin, little long, thin window, and you go and put your foot in a little right in the little bottom part of the window, and then you just throw one foot up, and it's still hard. Don't even believe it. It was hard. I was like, man, I remember I went up there and I'm like, damn, because I had to make my bed. I had to put my sheets on it, and I didn't want to lag it, so I went up there. And once I was up there, like, damn, I felt like I was hella high, like way up there. So yeah, and then I'm up there making my bunk, and I'm you could only imagine what's going through my head. Like, man, this is gonna be my house. What's in store for me? Who knows? But I know I gotta be respectful. I gotta keep my ears open. I gotta ask questions, whether I like it or not. I gotta ask. And oh man, that dude used to snore, dog. That dude used to snore. I couldn't even sleep. Like for my first maybe like my first 3 weeks, I was probably getting like 2 hours an hour of sleep. And then he would go to yard in the morning, so because I couldn't go to yard, I was on orientation. That dude used to snore, and I didn't even know how to tell him, like I felt like if I even mentioned it to him, like he was just gonna take flight on me and shit. But yeah, that dude used to snore, and yeah. So I remember my first time, so I'm sitting there when you drive up, you're on orientation. You can't go nowhere. They gotta make sure you have no enemies. You want to make sure your crimes are allowed. That you're not busted for sex crimes and stuff like that. They want to make sure you're not gonna get hurt, whatnot. What gangs in your past and all that. So they evaluate your whole past and your now. So you're on orientation probably for like about 3 weeks. And I can't go nowhere, homie. I'm in there, and I remember every time that fool walked out that cell, there was a big relief because there was tension. Like it was the kind of tension that is hard to describe because I feel like I've been walking on eggshells. This dude's been here 20 years, so you don't want to disturb nothing. You don't know what he's busted for. I haven't asked him. And people are edgy. There's people in here they're walking around hella mad at the world, and you see it in the face. I mean, you see it in the face when they get hella quiet. I remember when he used to get hella quiet, and I was like, I'm not digging this. And I was pretty good at breaking ice. I always figured out a way to because I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that silent treatment shit. And I just started opening up little by little, and I finally went to committee.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I went to committee, and they got me off orientation. They assigned me to education. They gave me a job as a porter. Now, that was a crazy shit, because I was like, man, I just got here, and they already gave me a job as a porter. And when you're a porter, you're running things. You're picking up shit. You're passing shit. And my whole focus was to go in there, do my time, don't pass, don't get in trouble, don't get involved in nothing. But because you're active, you gotta partake. You gotta contribute to the little things that they have, the little bylaws, and they give you the little reglas with they give you a paper where it's got all the bylaws, all the rules. You gotta get up, one down. At all times, somebody always has to go to the yard. If one of you wants to stay in,
You have 60 seconds remaining.
You could sleep in a little bit, but don't make it past like 10 or 9. Be on your toes. Have all the hot shit, everything that needs to be put away. Have it on standby. Have all the stuff that needs to be keistered. That's the hardest part, man. Like the keystering part. Like, they have items that by the bylaw you have to keister when you see the gooners walk in, or you see squad, or all of a sudden they start searching. And that was the hardest part, man, because I never pictured myself doing that shit. So you could imagine, man, what the fuck am I doing shit? And you don't want to ask questions, Hey, you want me to dial back before he just cuts this off?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna hang up.
All right, so he should be calling us back shortly. As soon as he calls back, then he'll go ahead and continue with his journey. And for those of you that are here for the first time, he's already gone through his childhood, and and his upbringing, and what up to the part where he ended up going to prison. He got sentenced to, I believe, I want to say 22 years to life back in 1993 or 94. And at that time, life sentence, no matter how much time it had, you weren't gonna you were not gonna come home. Whether it was 1 year to life, 5 years to life, or 7 to life, you weren't. There was no hope of you coming home. During those days. So that's what it was. So hopefully, he calls us back as soon as possible. And there it is.
Monitored and
Hello.
Hello. Hey, Javier.
Hey. Yeah, yeah. Yes,
Uh,
sir.
so before you continue right now, we actually had somebody just tap in, and they're listening from Ireland, and
Hold on, man.
uh-huh,
Awesome.
a lot of Botox. I think that's how it's pronounced. That's watching from Ireland. So before I just wanted to throw
Okay.
that out there before you continue going.
Okay, that's cool, man. I'm glad we could reach that far. I mean, that's worldwide. Yeah, homie. So, man, you know what? You could only imagine how scared I was. I was a scared ass kid. I was like, what the hell, man? Like, you kind of, you can't cry, dog. You got to put up to, you got to toughen up. You got to man up. I mean, and that baby was still in me because, I consider myself still, much of a kid. In your 20s, man, you're still a kid. And I don't care. I don't care how old you think you feel when you're at that age, because you do feel old. You feel like you're already an adult. But you got these dudes that were like 60, 50, looking at you as a kid. So they kept reminding you, because in prison you go from having your name when you first drive up to what's up, kid? What's up with that youngster? What's up, youngster? So they're no longer calling you by your name, for in the beginning, because nobody knows your name. So you're walking around, and you got the older cats. You go hit the weight pile and like, what's up, youngster? You want to work out right here? What's up? And everything was youngster or kid or plebe. The Rafa would call me plebe, plebe, morro, ¿qué onda, morro? And you kind of low key I used to get.
this call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I used to feel like, hell no, I ain't no morro, man. I'm a grown man, What you talking about? But yeah, my pride used to kick in, and yeah, it was tough, man. I remember when I first started going to school. So we were going to school from like 8 o'clock, and no, like 7:30 in the morning to like 11:30, and there's like three fences. You got three little checkpoints where they pat you down and all that. And right when you walk into the school, there's another like a little fence, and there was an old lady, and she was a little tough old lady. And as soon as I walked across the fence, because the school was inside that little perimeter, she kicked me in the ass. Like, what the hell? What the fuck is this? But then I looked back, and she was kicking everybody that was walking inside that little fence. She was kicking them, but not hard, like playing, because I guess she's been there so long that she got to liking and knowing everybody. So that was her way of playing with everybody. To her, we were her kids. She was like in her 70s. She was like the oldest correctional officer I ever seen. But she had such a good ass attitude, and she used to make everybody. She was like the perfect person they could put in that little spot, because none of the officers used to like working in that. It's called the patio. So she was controlling the patio, and it's like a controlled security area. Make sure nobody's got knives, and make sure nobody got no kind of weapons and all that. And I remember looking at her, and I just thought, 'cause you could only imagine how that felt. I'm getting kicked in the ass by an old lady. And yeah, so I went in the classroom, and the teachers were like, they gave me a bunch of testing, and everybody's looking at me. When you're the new kid in the class and the new kid in school, how it feels in the streets. Imagine how it feels to be the new kid in school, in prison. So everybody's just, they're weighing you down, they're measuring you up. They're like, what's up with this fool? What's he from? They're not asking yet, but the questions that they're asking is gonna be during lunch break. So I'm already getting ready for all the questions. Like, where you from? What you fasted for? Who's your brother? Who's your, because they ask all kinds of questions. They're trying to get a feel of you. And that's what prison does. You want to be comfortable around the people that are around you, and you want to know who's who. In case something is up, like if there's something that's going to happen. Every time something was going to happen, and everybody would know except the person that's going to happen to. So people go around like, hey, fool. Even in a classroom, shit, we're going to kick off in the classroom. They'll pull you over or they'll write you a little note. Hey, right there on the left, dude on the second chair, stay away from that dude. And that's it. Then you know what to do. They didn't have to tell you detail. They didn't have to tell you why. All you know is that, during lunch break, when we go out there and eat lunch, a little lunch break from school, it's going to go down. And it's so quiet, homie. I remember every time something was going to happen, everyone gets so quiet. The whole yard will go, you hear all this white noise. You hear everybody, you hear the handballs going. You hear the basketball, you hear the people talking, you hear the weights clinking, clink, clink, everybody's working out. You hear people laughing, you hear the walkie-talkies, regular prison noise. And then it goes quiet, and every time it goes quiet, everybody stops. And everybody's just looking like people, those that don't know what's going on, it was usually the other race. So every time it got quiet, the blacks would get, they start, you feel that tension. And they will get on their toes, like, okay, well, what's up right here, and then they will see that we're just taking care of one of our own. And then, they'll go down, the yard will go down, they'll pick the dude up, take him in the gun. If he got hurt real bad, the ambulance will come in the yard, pick him up, take him out. So that's a part that I think kind of made me kind of like very self-aware and paranoid. Like, I had major paranoia at first. Even though you have nothing to worry about, you're always worried about being around the area where something's going to happen, because if you're in that around little area and nobody, like, let's say somebody didn't get heads up and a dude got stabbed and, a little drop of blood touched, landed on your shoe or something like that, and you're not knowing, guess what? Your ass is going to the hall too, and you're getting charged with the same crime that, was stabbing the dude, even though you had nothing to do with it. Back then, they only had like one camera. They had actually right there in New Folsom, they had one when you're going out, when you're crossing from the small yard to the big yard, and then they got one inside the patio, and that was it. So there were so many blind spots. So yeah, I remember it all. Like, that took me forever. So every yard, and then yard was mandatory. When you got a celly, yard is mandatory, and you both don't gotta go. But like me and my celly would take turns. So whenever it was my turn, it was like, man, it was hard. And I didn't have shoes yet. I just had regular boots, prison boots. Back then they used to give you jab flaps, and they're like, you know what a jab flap is, no? A little thin Chinese shoes.
Yeah, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, and they're slippery, homie. They're slippery. So like, you can't fight in those, You're just gonna slide off all over the place. So yeah, I remember it all, like going to the yard on jab flaps and fucking and seeing everybody with their tennis shoes. Everybody already had the little workout gear. So yeah, I'm new. I'm fucking I can't even jog. I like running. In high school I was always in track. I've always loved running, man. There's something about running. There's like a little rush, like a little high you get out running, And I couldn't even run, so I couldn't even do nothing that I like doing. I used to go to the weight pile. I used to work out every yard, man. I remember, at that time, man, everybody was super buff, man, because, they still had the weights in prison. And you seen all these big ass dudes, man, and I was weighing like $140, I was just fucking. I felt like the skinniest dude there, and I felt like I had to beef up to survive, So I was hitting them weight towers, man. That was me. I was there for like, I was doing the whole yard, like 2 hours. I think I overdid it because you know, you could actually overdo it. You could burn out your muscles. I was trying to get there so fast to be able to use it as a like a defense, so I could be able to be strong and defend myself when you know, especially for riots. And yeah, so I'm there. I was already there. I got there 90 the end of '94, and I was there all the way to '96. I was there for like one of the biggest riots ever in PDC history. This riot was not stopping. I mean, this riot lasted easily. You know, I mean, we would go at it for like 15 minutes, take like a 5 minute breather, and then go back at it for another 15, 20 minutes, and we would all get tired. So that race, both races would take a break, and the cops were scared of going in there, man. They were just so kept.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
They kept throwing all kinds of like little fog and like concoctions. You know how they make it all foggy in there, and like tear gas and all kinds of shit. So you could imagine, dog. You know, man, I remember my first riot, dog. I was just my celly. I had already changed cellies. My celly was an Italian dude, and but he was running with the Sureños, and he was a buff ass dude. And he told me, "Look, fool, it's gonna go down tonight. You know, at yard, and everybody got the little fierros. You know, everybody got the little knives and shit, the little shanks, and it's gonna go down with the negros, and just go where I go. Just follow me. Just stick with me." Yeah, homie, that shit kicked off. Man, it was a rude awakening right there, man. I was like, I could hear and the cops were really shooting the righteous meaning, you know. You know, some dude that was like 3 months to the house, some dude, little homie from a little barrio in L.A. And he got shot in the head, and he went straight down, man. He was 3 months to the house, and I seen that shit happen, like right there in the basketball court. Like, damn, man, these cops were vicious, man. They were trying to kill you, you know, and because they were mad. We were all refusing to obey and thrown out and get on our stomachs, because of course we don't trust. No, who's gonna do it first, right? Like, you can't trust them, you know. Like, let's say we go down first, and and the neighbors are gonna come rush us, and so yeah, so there was like a trust issue right there where none of us wanted to get down. And so the cops were scared to come in because it was ugly. And finally, they had to. They went in there with all the gear, and I remember some like two cops got served by the negros, you know, and it was ugly. And the cops were like, man, they ran back out. They broke them fool's legs, and they had to call a whole bus from like all different prisons from all the way around. You could only imagine, man, how I was feeling. Dog. I was like, damn, this is gonna be like I was thinking there was like a riot like once a month or something like that, you know. So yeah, it was ugly, dog. Anyhow, I survived it. I pushed through it, and I ended up being there till like the end of '96. After that, we were on a lockdown for like 7 months. No canteen, no packages, no nothing, homie. Talking about starving, fool. I was sucking on mustard packs. I was sucking on motherfucking the little ketchup packs, the little dressings for the salad. Man, lettuce was bomb to me. You know, carrots were so good, and I mean, they weren't feeding that bad. The actual dinner, you know, back then you know, even for breakfast, we used to get pork chops for breakfast. We used to get bacon for breakfast, but then. You know, they 602'd it, a certain religious group 602'd it, and they said that they couldn't have pork nowhere around the kitchen because, you know, pork is against their religion to eat, and we couldn't have it. So they done took all our pork, they took our pork chops, they took our bacon. So, you know, little by little, man, prison was just getting ugly. You know, they started taking all kinds of shit from us. They started taking a rated R movie, even the movies. So we used to get rated R movies. Like once a week, we get a rated R movie. We got one in Spanish, one in English, and they took that from us because Cristiano's saying that, you know, the movies they can't watch those movies. So, you know, we were pretty much doing it to our own. You know, fellow inmates was just making prison ugly for us. You know, everything. There's people always complaining about shit. There's people that are complaining about the tablets right now. I'm like, why are you complaining about the tablets? You know, you should be happy we have.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
They're complaining how they go, how they sometimes they turn off, and you know they're glitchy. You know, they're not perfect. They're like little made in China little things, but hey, man, they're better than nothing. You know, yeah. So they took, you know, prison little by little started getting ugly. And I gotta, you know, I seen firsthand how we went from super good. I mean, we used to have concerts in the yard. People used to come from the street, and they used to throw like a little concert for us. You know, I remember one time I seen like a little salsa. You know, people came and they were playing salsa music, and they had hyenas dancing salsa music out there, and we're out there drinking Pruno, white lining. Everybody's getting along at that time. You know, that was before the riot. You know, it's cool, dog. Like, hey, did it say 60 seconds already?
Yeah, it's about to cut off right now.
Man, homie, I just go, huh? Okay, so yo, I'm gonna hang up and we call, huh? Yeah, hey, I don't even pay.
All right, so we reached the 15-minute mark. He should be calling us back shortly. Normally he's pretty quick when it comes to calling us back, so we shouldn't have to be waiting around for much longer. And right now, when he calls back, I'm gonna double check with him and ask him what prison was he at when this riot occurred, because it slipped my mind. I missed it, and I'm taking notes right now, so I wanna add that to my notes before I forget. And do any of you have anything special coming up for not Thanksgiving? That Thanksgiving already passed, for Christmas and New Year, or is anybody going to be heading out of town, or maybe having family coming in from other parts of the state, or locally?
This call is now
This
being
is
recorded.
Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
Javier Yanez.
an inmate at the
Or
You
what
got there,
prison?
New Folsom?
New Folsom. Okay, perfect.
New
Yeah.
Folsom?
All
Yeah.
right. All right. Thank you.
My
Appreciate that.
first prison, man. Yeah, yeah, bro. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna rewind it back a little bit.
Yeah.
To the good, like the parts that were actually good that I liked about that prison, man. They had a boxing program, and I remember in the streets, I was always into like learning some kind of karate or boxing classes, you know, because I used to get. Don't forget, we started with that bully shit. I used to get bullied bad, man. I used to get bullied so bad, man, and I had resentment towards like a bunch of like gang members, you know, the Sureños and all that, you know, and I had so much anger towards them, you know, and then I ended up becoming one of them without even me. I mean, they actually made me. Felly from Little Barrio right there in L.A. And he was actually my age, so we got along. I mean, we used to wrestle in the house and we used to fucking horse trade. You know. But he was in the boxing program. And so he got me in there, you know, you got to kick a physical to be able to assess it. And he got me in there, and I remember the first time I got in that boxing ring, I didn't realize that how hard it was. You know, everybody, people don't even know. You know, if you can hang one round, you're badass. You know, I was able to do two max. But yeah, I went in that boxing ring with my celly, and that fool was putting it on me, homie. He was fucking me up, dog. Like that fool. Like, I got mad. I remember I got mad. I started kicking that fool. Like I was like, "Son, what's up, motherfucker? You punching me like you don't like me? What the fuck? We're in here. We're supposed to be sparring. You're over here trying to beat, like you're whooping on me, you know?" And he's like, "Nah, homie, that's the way. You know, that's how you're gonna get better." I'm like, "Hell no, fool. Low key, I think you don't like me, 'cause he was fucking me up, dog." I remember I started kicking the shit. I took that fool to the ground. We went from boxing into wrestling, and the sergeant was right there. And I remember the sergeant called me over and called him over, and we took off because we got the boxing gear. And it still hurts when you get a little with gear. And he called me over and he told me, like, "Hey, man, how's your felly?" I said, "Yeah." Said, you know, you gotta get used to it, punching, man. You can't be in the boxing program and not get punched on. But yeah, that was, you know, I was liking it though. I was getting into, you know, they had the boxing ring outside in the sun, and it was all the way live, man. People drink, people were drinking, everybody used to get around before the riot kicked off. All races were cool. You go out, and they had on the way to the tienda, they had like a little swap meet outside. I ain't never seen nothing like that. They got people that were selling their artwork, their picture frames, the little hobbies, the little arts and crafts that they were making. So people that been down forever, a lot of dudes after they've been down for 20, 30, 40 years, they have nobody, people die along the way, so they got to be self-sufficient. You got to do something, to be able to eat, to have your things, to have your clothes, to have your appliances, to be able to live all right, to get through and not be struggling like that too hard. You got to learn something. You got to learn how to do something. You got a lot of cats that don't do it because they just sit here and wait on mama and daddy and girlfriend and sisters and all that. Yeah, I picked that up quick, man. Within a year or two, I was fixing electronics. I used to do remote controls for the TVs. I used to connect amplifiers. You name it, dog. I was real good at electronics, so that was my bread and butter. It was giving me my little money, my little extra hustle money. So it wasn't always all bad, man. I remember I was in a vocation class where learning how to do. I'm certified for plumbing. I'm certified for laying brick, masonry, and for technical illustrations. And it was fun back there, And the teacher would play music, and it was funny because we were breakdance back then. It was still. I got busted at the time where breakdance was still a big thing, and we lay out a bunch of cardboard and we play the music, and we used to have breakdance competitions back there. So people let loose every so often. Even though prison is real serious, you can't always keep it too serious because they'll dwell on you, homie. They'll start to form your face. You ever seen people come out of prison, and you could just look at him and just know he was in prison. It kind of it forms a face, kind of like they get these little drowsy cheeks and big old brocha that cover in half the mustache, and they look hella like hella serious and paranoid and kind of sad. A lot of people become like that in here, because they're always they stay on the how you put it, the swivel. They keep their head on the swivel, and you can't be like that, man. If you got issues, if you got problems, you got to nick it in the butt. You can't, and I had, that's always been my way of operating in here. And my way of thinking, like anytime there was a issue that came up, or somebody wanted to go ahead, wanted to run it with me, or wanted to get froggy with me, we'd take care of it because I was not gonna be watching my back, so I would take care of it right away because it messes you up. I mean, it's not like out there you get in an argument with somebody, you could leave, you can get in a car and go to another city, you could go to another country if it's that serious, Right here, there's nowhere to go.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
There's Rayada, there's buildings, you still got to go to medical, you still got to walk to breakfast, you still got to walk to school, you're going to run into that dude. So you want to take care of it as soon as possible. It messes you up. I mean, there's a lot of dudes in here that, they got so paranoid that they became mentally unstable. They're always real etchy and that's sad, You gotta be super strong. You gotta just put even if you are soft, you gotta. It's like working out, If you want to get big and you want that muscle to grow, you gotta also make that muscle in your head that controls your fear. You gotta exercise it by confronting your whatever you're scared of. And that's that's one thing I learned how to do. I became pretty good at it. I fought some big ass dudes on me. I was like, damn, that motherfucker's big. He's gonna fuck me up, but I gotta do it, And sure enough, And you know what? You'll be surprised, dog. Like I used to always be scared of these big old dudes, And man, there's a little trick to them fools, man. They get winded. They get winded so quick. Once they get winded, them dudes are all yours, dog. They get to talking like a little bitch. Like, all right, homie, calma, that's it. And you just feeling so good about yourself because here you are, a little ass dude whooping on a big ass dude, And so yeah, I learned how to just just go there, homie. Because you can't have issues and be walking around the yard watching your back, homie. It's an ugly feeling, you know. You just can't live like that. That was probably and still is the hardest part for me is when I go and talk to somebody and say they owe me for what I do, my services. I fix radios, I fix TVs, I fix hot pots, I make amplifiers, you name it, dog. I'm like the MacGyver around here, so a bunch of fools owe me, you know. On a regular day, on any given day, I'm owed at least $300, you know, with 10 here, 20 here, 30 here, 5 here, 3 here, and then I still draw, and they still owe me for some of the drawings, and, you know, so every time they run store, I take my little bag with me, and I kick it in dip bars, and I'm waiting, because it's right next to the canteen. I'm waiting with my bag, and everybody that owes me, they come, they put my little bag inside my little mesh bag, and those that don't come through, I go and hit them up, like, what's up, what happened? You know, and the scumbags are always trying to get over. Oh, man, I only went 60. I know I told you I was going 100, but I can't do it this month. I said, nah, honey, that's not my bad, dog. Like, you're going to pay me, you know, and I'll work with you, but, you know, but you're going to pay me. Like, you can't just tell me I got to wait next month. So take me to your house, give me something out of your house. But, and so it's an ugly feeling when these fools try to get over on you. It's no longer the item or the amount of money they owe you. It's more of a principle. Like who the hell? Like, you know what I could do to you? Like, I don't like to tell nobody, you know, my past. You know, I don't. You would think they would know. If I'm single cell status, if I cannot have a celly, that tells. It's got to tell you. It speaks volumes. They don't give you single cell status for free. You got to earn single cell status. You know, everybody wants to sell to themselves. Nobody wants to have a celly. But so sometimes it's like, man, why do I got to tell these dudes? I got to show them all my paperwork and all. But yeah, so every time I go there, dog, that's the hardest thing for me to let go. And I got a bunch of, you know, a handful of good friends that always come up to me when they see me getting edgy. And they go, come on, Javi, let's go for a walk. Like today, my homeboy from promotion side, he seen that I was getting mad at somebody, and he called me, because he's been down 28 years too. And he goes, Javi, let's go for a walk. And he took me for a walk. He goes, hey, fool, I seen you getting mad at the old dude. He goes, that dude's not worth it, homie. That dude's a piece of shit. He owes everybody 10, 20, 30 bucks. And they do it. The reason they do it is because they know the odds of you messing up your release date over 20 bucks, they're like, you're not going to do it. So that's why they go around doing it to everybody. And most of these dudes do it to dudes that have been down a long ass time, that are waiting to go to board. So, you know, I gotta work, and now I'm working a little different. Now they gotta pay me up front. So yeah, I gotta switch my mode of my way of doing things now, because I was giving people, I was doing that honor system. I was just trusting people. You know, right now they put a hot pot in front of my door. They didn't even ask me. They go, hey, can you check this out? And they walked away. You know, I'm not gonna do it. When that door opens up when I go to breakfast, I'm gonna move that hot pot to the side. I'm gonna leave it out there, because I already put a little note on the bulletin board that I'm not doing that no more, and you guys gotta pay me up front, because everybody right here is just scumbagish. You know, like maybe like 60% of the inmates in here are just horrible. I mean, they got no kind of self-control, no self-respect, no manners. I mean, like, it's crazy. But yeah, that's always been the hardest part. And I believe any inmate, anybody in prison, especially ones that have been down a long time, are gonna tell you that is the hardest part. The celly part, because you know, when I used to have cellies, I used to, you know, you got to deal with your cellies that are being disrespectful, that are fucking taking a dump and not flushing, you know, because when you use the restroom, you gotta, you know, you lay one, you flush one, because you could imagine how it feels the cell with it smell, you know, so you gotta time it. As soon as it's coming out, you gotta flush it. So as soon as it comes out, it keeps the house smelling decent, you know. Of course, you gotta get a little bit of smell, but some dudes are not like that, man. And then you got the ones that eat with their mouth open. And, oh, that's even worse. I mean, I want to punch them dudes. Like, oh, what the hell? And then the ones that, you know, you still so often running to dudes that fart while you're eating. What the fuck? So you know, somebody farts while you're eating this, you're gonna punch right away, instant. You're just gonna knock that. You're gonna beat that fool up, you know, because that's pretty much telling you how he feels about you. You know, with just a little gas. it's sad, homie, but that's the way the prison got it. Like they want us to. These cops, they love violence. They get that little adrenaline rush. They know everything that's going on because somebody's always telling. No matter how slick you think you are, what you're doing, they already know. They're just, they allow it because that's what makes the prison go, makes it go around. Everything works, it goes in a circle, and they gotta have a little bit of everything. So they have to allow certain things. Like when I first got here, they weren't letting me fix nothing. They hit my house like 3 times. They took all my circuit boards, and they told me like, hey, I don't mind you fixing shit, but you gotta give me a heads up. I took all your circuit boards, and this time, I'm gonna give you a break, but you can't lay shit. You can't leave shit, just laying around. And yeah, but I went to breakfast. I never expected that. I told him, man, I ain't never.
You have 60 seconds remaining. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Como chingan esto. Yeah, so I remember I told that cop, hey, well, the only reason that was left out is because I was just going to breakfast. I ain't never in my life got my house hit while I went and walked and got my breakfast, So they got an officer in here that, like, as soon as everybody leaves, he gets to hitting houses, man. And he's real petty. He'll go in there and tell you, if you got extra sheets, he'll take that. If you got extra pillow, he'll take that. He's real, real bad. But with me, he kind of eased off a little bit because I guess he seen my file and he seen I don't give them fools a hard time. I never had a little disrespected officer. Never had any kind of me going against the grain with them. And I'm pretty sure they got it in my file that I fix it, and I've actually fixed stuff for them before. But yeah, like the.
All right, so he missed the the 60-second mark. He should be calling us back shortly, and as soon as he calls back, I'll go ahead and ask. I see the question that the Liceman put up there. So as soon as he calls back, I'll go ahead and double check with him and ask him about being a born artist, or did he make himself, man? As far as me being an artist, I could barely draw some stick figures, so that's not something I was born with or I was able to learn. I think some people are just they're born with it. Like my niece, she's been drawing since she was little, and she's really good at it now. My sister's helped her get to that point.
This call is
This
now
is
being
Global
recorded.
Tellink. You have a prepaid call from
Javier Yanez.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison.
Nope. Yes,
Hello.
sir.
So I got a question on here before you keep on going. We got a question from a Liceman, and he wants to know if you were a born artist, or
Yeah.
did you make yourself an artist? Did you learn?
Hey,
How did that come about?
okay, so Trip. Okay, so all my brothers, my older brother, and my younger brother, even my little baby brother. I don't know where it comes from, homie. But man, I'm trying to get a hold of even my brothers' art. It's gonna blow your guys' mind. You're gonna say, wow, because all this art we're doing it with the tip of a pen. It's just a little ball bearing, and we're laying all that ink with the little tip of a pen. And so my brothers, I used to see my brothers draw when I was in camp. Remember I told you I was in camp with my brother twice, in juvenile camp, and that fool was doing drawings, and they were coming out on Lowrider magazines. His artwork was coming out on Lowrider Art. Remember a long time ago they had a magazine called Lowrider Arte. And when I see my brother's art coming out on there, I was like, damn, that fool's bad, because he was drawing. All that. And that fool was pretty good, man. And my older brother was doing the same thing. My brother Memo, rest in peace. And so I was the only one that was my mom used to sit us down, and she used to buy colors and all that. and color books and all that. And my brothers used to get off coloring. I would just sit there. And we were not allowed to go outside until we do some kind of coloring or some kind of homework. So I would just sit there, man, and I was just, I'd chicken scratch, fake shop ass drawing just because I was mad. I wanted to go. I wanted to go outside and play. So yeah, I was the only one that never got into drawing because my brothers were drawing even in the house when not only when they were in juvenile hall or prison, but when they were in the house. So I picked it up. I picked it up in here, man, and going to the hole. Going to the hole was like when I really had to, because my first time I went to the hole, I was stuck in the hole for 3 years. And back then, the hole, you didn't have a radio, you didn't have a TV, you didn't even have a locker in your cell. Only thing was in your cell was a bed. So you could imagine, I was stuck in that hole for 3 years. Me and the homie and other homies from National City were the ones that pretty much broke the record of being in the hole the longest. And this was over there in Ancaster. And that's when I dropped down to a 270 yard for like maybe, like a year and a half. That's the longest I ever dropped down. But I went below level 4, 180, because there's a difference in the design. And so yeah, I kind of was forced to start drawing only because, boredom. I never was a good reading person. Like I struggled with reading my whole life. And I believe I still do. But I'm getting better. The tablets are actually helping me because the messaging, the texting, that's why I like to text. I know you notice how long my texts are because I'm getting the hang of the spelling, the commas, the exclamation marks and that. So I used to struggle with reading. So my go-to was I had to learn how to draw. So yeah, I pretty much got addicted to drawing because while you're drawing, it kind of like therapeutic, man. It relaxes you and it puts you in a mood where it's like so relaxed, man. It's hard to explain. Like you're so relaxed because you're thinking about life in general. Like if you want to think about your parents, you think about the good.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
For some reason, when you draw, you don't think about bad shit. You think about good. So your mood shows on your art. When your shading is real nice and fine, you're in a good mood. When sometimes when I cross hatch on my shading, that's a form of shading the drawing. It's nothing but lines and the crisscross each other, and that's called crosshatch. And I kind of enjoy crosshatch because that one is like I'm in a happy, fast mood. Like let me get this drawing done real quick, and then I come back and touch it up. And it still comes out all right. People tell me, hey, that's a trip how you did that. It has really helped me do my time get me this far, though. I believe I did good. I never got stabbed in prison. If you go 30 years in prison without getting stabbed, it means you're doing good. You're being respectful. You're keeping your word. You're paying your bills, whatever bills you get. If you buy something, you pay for it. You're not getting out of line with people, homie. Every time I got in trouble is because they see how people do they write on that. The hardest thing I get is because I go to church. In church it's sad because when you go to church there's only like 15 or 20 people, and there's like 1,000 people in the yard. So imagine that means there's only 20 believers, and so you're like in a little snake pile, a bunch of little devils. They're like they don't believe in God, and if they do, I can't say they don't. Maybe they got their own personal little thing with God in their cell, and they do their Bible thing in the cell. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of those. But I like going, because they got the altar, and then they got the I don't know what it's called in Spanish. That little bread in English, the little bread they give you, because I grew up Catholic, so I go to Catholic church. And at the end, they give you that little thing that you eat, that they put in your mouth. It's like a bread. In Spanish, se llama la hostia. I don't know what it's called in English. So they go the distance, man. They give you I do the rosary, And so I'm pretty sure people see that, and they write on that. And they say, this dude, man, he's doing so good. I don't have to pay him. And so that's what they believe, And then when it gets real, I've seen people tear up because I'm going on. I'm about to I'm telling them, what's up, motherfucker? Like, you think you fucking with some chump? What the fuck? Fuck this devil. I go off, dog, and I'm still working on myself. I'm a work in progress. I'm learning to let that go. I'm learning to bite my tongue, but sometimes it's so hard on me, like, because you're looking at this dude, and you know why he's doing what he's doing, because he thinks I'm not gonna do nothing about it, because he thinks I want to go home, and he sees that I go to church, and they test you, homie, you know. So yeah, I'm working on myself, man. I got a lot of like short, you know, I snap, man. Once people try to play me, like you could, you could clown me, you could call me whatever, you know, but don't try to play me, you know. You can't even call me a bitch. I'm not gonna do shit about it, you know. I could, you know, that's whatever, you know. Walk away. I don't care, you know. But like, don't try to insult me by, you know, not trying to pay me for the service I did for you. I went out of my way, you know, 'cause I do all kinds of shit. I even sew, homie. You know, I tailor clothes. You know, if people trip out on me, like, damn, you know how to do everything. You know, I get off on tailoring, on sewing. Like, people get, all the clothes you get is bell bottom right here. So nobody, we don't wear bell bottoms. But prison, for some reason, all the clothes you get, they're hella open in the bottom, and their pants are hella long. So when you get your clothes, you gotta have somebody. If you don't know how to sew, you gotta have somebody. You gotta pay somebody to tailor them for you, to your size, and so you can bring them in a little bit. And there's not a lot of people that do that. And you know, I could charge a lot. Everybody tell me, why you charge so little? I go, because it ain't shit. I could do that shit like nothing, you know. And yeah, I really don't charge that much, you know. But some of these dudes, you know, I take them at the word. On an honor system, you know, I'm telling them, hey, fool, I'm charge you $10. I'm gonna give you, you know, cool. I'll do both pants for $10, because I like to do, you know. And then so I do it. And he goes to the store, and he comes back with some drag, talking about, hey, they ran out of creamer, or they ran out of sugar, but I'm gonna give you this burner deodorant. I don't want that deodorant. I got like 20 deodorants. I want my fucking creamer. And so sometimes I just give him that. I tell him, look, I mean, you can have that money. You didn't punk me. You didn't burn me. I gave you that shit. But that's it. Don't come and ask me for nothing, homie. Nothing. You need something fixed. You need something sold. I'm good. Just don't come around me, homie. And so it's like me paying that dude. If he owed me $10 or $8, it's like I gave him that money so he could tell me what kind of person he was. So that's the way I look at it. You know what I mean? Like, boom, here's $10. Tell me who you are. Boom, that's what he told me. So you burned the bridge for $10. So they got so many scumbags right here, dog. Like, seems like every other dude, but so yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's hard. I'm gonna see if I could. So I'm trying to remember how even I ended up going to this part of the conversation. Trying to go back. I'm trying to take it back. So I think I was in New Folsom, and so after the riot, they started chipping everybody out. Every time there's a riot, they separate by tens. Like, send 10 for this prison, because they don't want to send too many that were involved in this riot to the same prison, because it's just gonna spoil over to that prison. So what they do, they'll give everybody shoe turns. Everybody automatically gets a 3-month shoe turn. So you go to the shoe. The shoe is like the hole. It's like a prison inside the. It's okay. I'm gonna put it this way. It's like a jail. No, a prison inside a prison. The hole is a jail inside the prison. The shoe is a prison inside the prison. So it's shoes, we do long term. There's people that do 20 years in a shoe, 30 years. I know people that were in a shoe for like 30 years. They closed them down. They're not allowed no more. They banned all that. No more shoe turns. And even that said, you can't do that much time in the hole no more. They found that unconstitutional, and it's a cruel and unusual punishment, 1980 law, whatever. And so so they sent us all to different prisons. I ended up in Lancaster. I got lucky because I went to a 270. I was like, what the hell? You know, and everybody was tripping because how the hell did you get a 270? Because I guess I had dropped down points. Man, that's the worst thing they could have done, man. Because when I got there, I was climbing up points like on a regular week, man. I was getting write-ups for drinking. I was getting write-ups for making alcohol. I was getting write-ups for not going to work. I was ugly, dog. I was getting write-ups for fighting. I was getting at least like 3 or 4 fights, 6 fights a year, like nothing, you know. And people average like a fight every other year. There's thousands of inmates. So imagine if everybody was fighting every day, there wouldn't be no program because they'll usually shut down the program for, it hinders everybody's ability to go to school and to be on time for certain groups and all that. So it does slow.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And then they write you so you get another write-up for work stoppage, for causing everybody to stop what they're doing, run over there, pick you up, cuff you up. Yeah, so I ended up in Lancaster. I was in Lancaster from the end of '96. I want to say November or December. I want to say December, the last month of December, the last week of December. And I was there from '96, '97, '98. I was there longer than to like '99. I thought I had only been there for like a year and a half. Look, when you're a lifer, you're oblivious to time. I never know what the day is. And, I never pay attention to that shit because time is nothing no more. You're a lifer. You never go home. You're in that mindset, and it's the best way to think because the time flies. I feel like my time flew. Everybody says, "Damn, 30 years." Man, that shit felt like it went so fast, and probably because I stayed busy. So yeah, I ended up in Lancaster, and they put me in all kinds of groups, and they had a soccer field. There's different kind of environment, man. There's more programming. The buildings are a little bigger. There's something like this, but the cells they got a bunch of little holes. I forgot what they call it. I think they call it egg crate cells. There's like a bunch of little holes, so you could see outside. They could look inside your cell. I kind of liked it there. I just didn't like how loud it was at night because I went from solid doors to these doors where you could hear everybody in their cell. You could hear so much noise and it was loud. It took me a long time to get used to that. At that time, I was still getting celly, so I ran into one of my homies from the hood, and we showed up. We were cellies for a while, and we used to stick together. I go out there and we still had the weights. And we used to hit the track, run a couple laps, hit the weights for a little while, and we used to chop it up, man. And he was a good dude, man. And he ended up getting in trouble, man. He ended up getting stabbed. There was nothing I could do to save that dude, man. He got into some kind of pickle, man.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
It just went all bad for him, man. But yeah, no, so I'm there, man, and I'm closer to the house. My sister lives in LA, and I'm getting visits, man. I'm getting visits, man, and then it started getting to the point where, I wanted to make money. Here I came with my ambitious ways where I want to be balling, I want to have shit, I want to get money for my appeal, So sure enough, I started doing selling drugs in prison, man, and I was that man for a while, and I thought I was one bad motherfucker. And you're thinking you're badass because you got everything, and everybody knows your name, and we look for that sometimes because you want to feel like you belong and that you're about something. So yeah, I was selling drugs, dog, and I got a lot of my loved ones in trouble, man, and it was ugly, dog. It's
about to hang up, yeah. All right. Hey, Elias, man, did you happen to catch what year was that riot that took place in Folsom, back when he got there? I want to check if I could find any information on it. Just curious, and hopefully, he calls us back sooner than later, and then he could go ahead and continue with his journey. I think on one of the other calls, or maybe I'm not sure. Yeah, he probably didn't mention it on the air, so I'll go ahead and let him say once he calls back, because I have a general idea where this is where this story's headed. So definitely gonna be interested in hearing what he has to say next, and I can't wait. All right, there we go.
This call is now being recorded.
You have a prepaid call from
Javier Yanez.
an inmate at the Cincinnati.
Yes, sir.
All right, and before you continue right now, I just want to double check something with you. That riot that took place in Folsom, what year? What year was that in?
96.
96. Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you, and then I'll go ahead and
Yeah.
let you continue with your story. I know you're about to
Yeah.
get into
Yeah, I'm about to get into some ugly, man. Shit that really did hurt me bad, man. So I was slanging. I didn't. You know what's crazy? I didn't have to, man. I was going to the store. You know, I was going to the store every single month. I was doing good. Back then, the max was $130 a month. You know, $130 gets you a good issue of food, man. I was eating burritos every single day, man, and I was making burritos for like my whole tier. I was treating people, I was doing good. I was running into a little bit of money here and there for people that owed me, and a lot of dudes get involved in that for ulterior motives, not for the causa. They always say they're doing it for the causa, for this, and that. Nah, man. You know, they're doing it because most of the dudes are, drug addicts or dope fiends, and they know that they're the ones that are going to collect all the dope, and they're going to distribute all the money and distribute all the dope. So there was laws in the place where you got to give up a third of whatever you get. So I wasn't doing that. I was like, nah, I was writing on who my crime was. I was taking advantage of that. I was writing on that. Like, I'm not gonna do that shit. And so it got bad, man. People were hating on me, and it got to the point where some of the guys that were,
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
some of the dudes that were up there that were really, really, really important. They're like, hey, well, give that fool an ultimatum, And yeah, man, I didn't want to partake in like stabbings. I didn't want to hurt nobody, bro. I felt like I still had a chance on my appeal, so I didn't want to get in no kind of trouble. So they had a law back then in the 90s where all lifers are the ones that are to do all the pegadas, all the hits, all the hits. Or if somebody had to get killed or somebody had to get dealt with, they would pick a lifer because supposedly the lifers, the district attorneys, the DAs weren't picking up cases on lifers, and it was true. They weren't picking up on lifers because what else can they do to you? You already got life. So yeah, so they hit me up. They're like, hey, what's up, man? You gotta partake on some of this. You gotta contribute to the little group of people that you're involved with. You can't just be here doing your time and selling your little shit, selling your little dope and living lavish and not. But I was looking out. I was looking out, God. I was looking out directly to where I know the money had to be there. Who was going to get it? I did not trust none of these other little smaller cats because I knew what they were doing with it. And they were taking more than half of it and they weren't even showing up with the real money. So I was going directly, and I didn't have to do it much because I wasn't doing nothing big, and everything was from the quota. Because they give whatever you want from the quota. But these dudes were always there saying, nah, it's got to be a third. So yeah, so they gave me an ultimatum. They're like, look, fool, if you don't want to be doing no more pegadas, because you're a lifer, you're gonna have to do pegadas. We got this ultimatum. We got this little plan for you. And so they're like, hey, check this out. You could do a couple of runs, then bring our shit. Bring the dope. Do like 3 or 4 good. But there was like big, huge, like big shipments of shit. And I was gonna be a mullah. I was gonna be the mule, and I was gonna go to business, and I was, so I kind of waited out, man, and I talked to my family members. I talked to my little carnalita, like, look it, man, I gotta, I think this is gonna help, because if I go to doing the stabbings, there's a bigger chance that I'm never gonna go home, because my appeal is still in place, so I don't want to catch another case in here. So let's do this shit for this fool, you know. We bring them, we bring them the little dope 3 times, 3 big shipments, and I'm done. All I gotta do now is just pretty much just hold, and that would be like holding hot, like the fierros, because everybody takes turns holding the fierros and shit. So at all times, you gotta always keep part, taking, you gotta be taking part in doing little things that we got to do to survive in there and to be part of it. You know, it's like a little, supposedly we're all like hermanos and shit. We're all like little brothers and family and all that. But I never believed in that. So yeah, so that was the plan also. I agreed to do that, homie. And we did it the first time, it went good. We did it the second time, it went good, you know. And then on the third time, homie, you know, it was gonna be the last time too. Boom, my little sister got busted, dog. My little sister got busted. My mom was with her. My brother-in-law, rest in peace, was with her. My older sister was with her. So you could only imagine. And then my mom had no idea. My mom didn't even know nothing about it until it happened. You know, I'm in the cell waiting for my visit. You know, they never showed up. They never showed up. And fuck, bro, like, man, I was already like kind of nervous. And my Shelly's telling me, hey, dog, you know, that's not right because I called. They were already right there. They were about to pull up. You know, and like, yeah, I don't know. And sure enough, after dinner, they came and gaffled me up. They opened the tray slot, cuffed me up. Said, come here, Mr. Yanez, we got to talk to you. And who that fucking shoot me up too? They're like, man, how dare you, man? Easy little citizen. You know, and I can't tell them, you know, why I chose to do it. You know, all I could do is tell them, you know, hey, man, I'm sorry. You know, I'm trying to get some money from the appeal. I'm trying to get the hell out of here. And I thought that was the best way to go about making some quick money. I couldn't tell them the truth, you know. And I was trying to send a message to my sister, like, hey, tell them I threatened you, tell them I forced you to do it. Blame everything on me, you know. Man, poor little sis, she refused, though. She wrote it. She wrote it all the way because, you know, everybody that gets busted for bringing in dope, they the first time, they get probation. They let them go, you know, but that's because they were telling. They were giving up info. So my sister, well, she refused. She refused to say anything. She would not say nothing. And I was trying to get word to her because I was in a hole. I couldn't call her on the phone, so I was doing it through kites and through letters and through people that were getting business in the hole, sending out verbals. And she would not do it. No, so she didn't want to tell on nobody. She didn't want to. So she just pretty much she was holding her own, and they ended up giving her 2 years. So they took her in. She ain't never got busted before in her life, bro. They did it dirty. They took her in, and she ended up doing 2 years in Chowchilla. And fuck, bro, that shit killed me. So I was on the leva. My family put me on the leva for a while, you know. She was like, yeah, you fucking scumbag, you know. And they don't know the whole story. At that time, they're thinking I'm using drugs. You know, how dare you get your little sister bringing drugs and whatever, you know. And mom, you know, probably these huras are over there. Because these huras, they like to break families. They try to discourage your family members from coming to visit. Because the less visitors they have, the less work they got to do and the less processing they got to do. So, yeah, who knows what they told my mom. I asked my mom, I'm pretty sure they told you something. And she said, no, they never told me. No, I just think you were using drugs. So why would you do that? Why would you use your sister, you know? So, yeah, I was on the level for a while, man. So I caught a shoe term. That's how I ended up getting stuck in the shoe in the hole for 3 years. Because now I'm in the hole for trafficking. And I'm there, and I'm a lifer. And people are when you go to the hole, there's at least on any given day, a good 10 people that need to get dealt with. And one's got to get killed. And you're a lifer, and, you know, this one's got to get taken out. And luckily, I never really got one of those where I had to take them out. But, you know, I had to do a gang of pegadas, chequeadas. So, yeah, so I can't get out the hole because I keep catching shit. I'm only supposed to do a 9-month shoot. I mean, 9 months in a hole. You know, I went from doing 9 months to doing close to 3 years. You know, I did 2 years, 10.5 months. So that's like 3 years. That's why I say 3 years. And yeah, so I couldn't get out of it. I could get into trouble. I ended up catching a case right there for a stabbing, and then I started going to trial from the hole. So now they're picking me up. Same thing like when I got busted. They're picking me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. They're taking me to the Van Nuys court. That's like an hour and a half away from Lancaster. No, like about an hour from Lancaster. And we're going on this trip, and people got arrested in calles for this stabbing that happened in the home because the people had paroled that had called that shot. They had called whoever called that shop. They went and they rebooked this food that he had just gone out, and they went and rebooked him because somebody was talking. So yeah, I went to like this trial lasted about a month and a half. Yeah, and then that they not picking up on lifers was bullshit. So when I came back and I told the homies that sent me on the mission, I go, that's fucked up, bro. Like, I took you to your word, and he put a grip of money in my books. Like, hey man, I'm sorry, bro. Like, that's the first time they do that, but that's because who was involved and because of a high profile person or whatever. So they had to. And like, yeah, money wasn't gonna fix nothing. I was mad, homie, because I didn't need another case. I didn't.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I'm dealing with this one, But God, that was something, man. And so I'm going to trial that night, and fucking they ended up giving me 9 more years to do after my life sentence. So right now I'm at the point where even if I get a release date, I still got to deal with the 9 years that I owe. But my lawyer is saying that nah, that's bullshit. They changed the law. Now they're gonna give it to you. So whenever they finally give me my date, they got to run it concurrent. And that's true. I looked it up, and sure. But imagine I was stressed out through the whole time. Like, man, even if I get a release date, so once I get a release date, I got to do the 9 years later. Like, man, because that's how they did it. I got busted in '93, and first I had to do the 5 years for the drugs and the year for the guns. So I had to do 6 years before I even started doing my life sentence, and I was busted already. So my life sentence didn't start until '99 or 2000, and I got busted in '93. And that was cold. That shit got me mad because I'm thinking I'm doing the life sentence already, and I'm already paying my life sentence. Nah, man, they bow-legged everything. They said they make sure you pay for everything. So I was like stressed out about that, man. So yeah, that's where I was at. That's where I was at, man. Like, it was ugly, dog. Like, it's gonna get a little more and more into that, but yeah, man. Man, pobrecita carnalita, man. After she got out, she got deported, bro. And man, that's my little sister, man. I love her dearly. She looked up to me, man, and she brought up a bunch of shit. Like, look at what I'm doing for you and your little punk ass little friends that used to drive in your car all the time, and you never wanted to take me places. And I used to tell her, sis, I didn't want to take you with me because I was doing ugly shit. What if I got shot at and you got shot and you got killed? It's not that I didn't want to take you places because I didn't like you or I didn't care for you. Man, I cared for you. That's why I didn't take you with me. When I was out there running around, I was riding dirty all the time. Why do you want to be with me? I couldn't tell you. Of course, I was hiding it from my mom. I was hiding it for everybody. Nobody knew. Even my older brother until he seen all the money. I mean, that fool almost cried when he saw all that money. Like, what the hell are you doing? My little baby brother, my little baby brother Joey, he don't know a lot of this shit. So he has a lot of resentment towards me because I wasn't there for him. He always throws it in my face, like, yeah, fool. My life is fucked up because I have a brother that, a big brother to look up to. You weren't even, all my brothers were in prison, You never did nothing for me. And I go, bro, you forgot the times I used to take you to your little karate classes. I used to take you, Alfredo, and Mimi. We used to walk to a fucking neighborhood barrio. What you talking about? That's me going out my way, homie, And we used to hit the alleys just to go to the boys club, because the boys club was in Logan Heights, and I'm from Sherman, and those are enemies. And so I would walk my little brothers over there. I bought them the little suits, the little karate suits, and we got too far. He got to his little orange belt. I got my little purple belt. We were all doing it, And I think that's another thing that kept me alive in here. My little part that my little taekwondo classes that I took, they're all self-defense.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
That kind of gave me a little upper hand on being able to survive in here, because I've gotten into some vicious fights where I felt like I was losing, but some of that just naturally came into play, and man, it was ugly. Especially self-fights are dangerous, man. I got into somewhere I was, man, this dude, it was getting the best of me, and he ran out of wind, and I said, yeah, boy, it's my turn, He got his real good, and when it was my turn, it was my turn. I did not stop, oh, boy. I left that fool's head like a fucking basketball-sized head. I was like, even when I was down, I felt bad. It was ugly, but yeah. It's going to cut off. What you think? Should we leave it for another day? We already did like 2 hours on this one, huh? Or do you want to go? What do you think?
Oh,
Are
one
you
more,
there?
one more. Yeah, yeah,
I
I'm here.
can't hear you.
One more. All right, I forgot. I had my microphone on mute. I said it a few times, and then I realized that it was off, so I turned it back on. So hopefully he heard me when I said one more time, and he calls back shortly. We'll wait for like a minute or so, and if he calls back, then we'll go ahead and run one more uh, one more call, and then we'll probably continue tomorrow. I don't work tomorrow, so I'm available, and I'll check what his schedule's like, and if he's available, then we'll go ahead and do a few more. So this would be, I think, today's call would be number 4, I believe.
Yay, yay. Yep.
All right,
Let's
and
crack it.
so I just got a question right now from Elias, man, and he just asked right now. He's asking if you're gonna go to the board in March.
Yeah, you know what? So originally it was when I went to board in February of this year, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, I went to board in February of this year, and no, last year. My bad, last year, and I got a 3-year denial. And when you get a 3-year denial, you put for an advancement to, so it'll be, instead of waiting the 3 years, you put in for a year and a half. So my lawyer put me in for a year and a half because I'm doing good. I'm going to board and all that. So as long as you're doing good, you could go and show all that. And a lot of times they're granted. So supposing my lawyer said, for sure it's going to get granted, and if it's granted, it's going to be in March. So you go to board in March. But if I don't go to board in March, that means it's going to go back to either, um, I'm going to say June of next year or something like that. Let me see. Or June, yeah, I think. Or so. I can't do the math right now, but yeah, it'll just knock it back down to another year. And that ain't shit. It goes by so fast, dog. And I still do got. I gotta be honest with myself. I still got some work to do, man. Like, controlling my anger. Defend yourself. That's another thing about being a weekend or not. But yeah, I'm looking forward to going on March. But worst case scenario, no longer than a year. And I believe it. I can feel it in my heart, dog, that I should get a date, man. I fall under the youth offender. I was a kid. My brain hadn't fully developed. They did the study where, I wasn't. We use poor judgment when you're under the age of 26. Your brain has not developed fully yet. So, I was 20, so mine's even better because they got the youth offender for 17 years old. I fall under the youth offender for 21 and under. So we're even worse. So from 21 to 26, you can still you got better judgment. You barely make the youth offender board hearings because they got to give it great consideration that your brain there's a possibility that you acted out because your brain wasn't fully developed, so you could righteously make righteous decisions. So yeah, I'm looking forward to either March or June. I can't do the math, but I know no more than a year I should be going. Is Iceman the only one under? Is Letty under? I sent her. She told me to send her a message, and right before I got under, I sent her one. I don't know if she got under, but she didn't want to miss it.
I did.
You know she's under?
I did send her a text message that we were on a little while ago. Not exactly when we started, maybe like 20 minutes after we started, and she hasn't replied. So.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 'cause she's out there cooking tamales.
Ah.
She was arguing. Her mom was crawling under her skin like she was. I shouldn't throw her out there like that, but that's my girl, man. Like, I'll tell her like, don't let mama get you mad, man. Like, but she wasn't really like they weren't fighting, but it was fun. You could tell she was frustrated because she got to deal with. No, she's a single mom. She takes care of like 9 kids. They're not all hers. Only 5 are hers. So like she's got her niece in there living with her, and sometimes she's left with everything. Like they don't even help her. Like so, she's got a lot to deal with. Like she takes a lot of, she gets tired by the end. But she's such a good person, man. Such a wonderful person right there, man. I thank God I found a friend like that because you know what? I want to take the time to mention this too. Throughout this whole time, it's up to right now, or to up to where I'm in Lancaster, I got no girl, dog. I shut down. I put a guard, and I told myself, because I broke my heart so bad, because I let my girl, she abandoned me. I was too far away. She stopped visiting me. And we had gotten married, and because the whole plan was for her to start doing family visits and all that, she just skedaddled on me, bounced, and so I became kind of like I told myself I'm never gonna fall because it hurt it. It hurt it. I mean, that's another thing I had to deal with. The breaking up with my girl, like her disappearing and just down, just abandoning me, and she was my rock. So you could just imagine. You could feel it when you're in the street. When your girl does you like that, that hurts when you're in the streets. Now imagine when you're in prison. So it was a double jamming. So yeah. So I went like 27 years, without having a significant other, homie. All I had was my mom, my sisters, my brothers, my dad, my cousins, my tias, family. And I used to see everybody getting their little mail, getting visits, getting letters in the mail, getting pictures on the phone with their girlfriends, coming back with hickeys and going to family visits. Of course I wanted that.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I couldn't get myself to fall in love, homie. When I was young, I want to say when I was young, I was a handsome kid, man. I got pictures of myself I hadn't seen in years. I went like 20, 30 years without seeing pictures of myself when I was a kid. And they finally sent me pictures. And I'm like, damn, I was a handsome little motherfucker, I was all right. And so I shut down not because I wasn't, I had low self-esteem. I shut down because I was scared to get my heart broken again. So I went solo, homie, and up until when I met this girl, and she's not my girlfriend, but man, I love her, as a person, as a human being, because she pulled me out of that darkness like that. She told me, like, man, it was an accidental phone call too, and it was a trip, like it was meant to happen. And there's a story to that one. When I get to that one, you guys are gonna trip on that one, and you're gonna say, wow, that shit is crazy how that happened. Because she's actually highway patrol. She's a Huda. She took her what's it called, her academy. She went to academy. She passed everything, and now she's just waiting. She don't know where she's gonna work, what beat. She can't work in her own county because she has a criminal record. But yeah, what are the odds of that, huh? So I hope she could write me a cool support letter, and that one should really help me when I go to board. But yeah. Yeah, that's it right there, man. It took a
Man,
while.
you went through a lot today. We you definitely covered a lot. And
Yeah,
hopefully you're able to sleep a little bit better. We're getting off. Getting all this off of your chest that you've been holding in for such a
yeah,
long time. I mean, 30 years is definitely a long time. So hopefully you
yeah,
conversating and letting it out. It's helping you.
yeah, yeah. Hey, man, you know what's crazy? I've been having nightmares, so it's also helping me get it out. But I've been like, when I go to sleep, I've been reliving some of this shit. You know, I'm like, what the hell? And I told Letty, I go, hey, Letty, I sent her a big text last night, a long ass text. It wasn't even a text or a message; it was a letter. And I told her, hey, like, I'm having these fucking nightmares. So today I woke up at like at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. My eye just popped open because I was having nightmares. And when I popped out of that nightmare, I was so scared to go back to sleep because I sat down and I was like, I kept falling, like rocking back and forth. And I was scared to go to sleep because I didn't want to jump back into that nightmare. So I just got up, and I made a shot of coffee and I started walking back and forth and I started working out. And the cops, the cops walking by the house. He's probably thinking some kind of tweaker or something. What the hell are you doing up at this time? And nah, man, yeah, it was awkward. But like every time I would see him come in, I would go from the bright light to the dimmer. But yeah, but it's definitely helping me. The most important thing is like hopefully kids or parents that are listening to this could share their story to these kids, man. Like this shit is real, homie. This shit is real. Like you only get one time in life, homie, and mine, half of my life, more than half of my life. I've been in here longer than I lived out there. I've been in here 30. I lived 20 out there, and my best years were actually in prison. Because I should have lived my best out there. When you're in your 20s, you're experiencing with having a girlfriend and having a career, and having kids, and man, you don't even know how that hurts. But I gotta put my blockers on. I gotta just, man, it puts a knot in my throat, man. I have not like I have the. It was crazy is that I used to be able to cry, homie. I used to be able to cry. In prison, it dries you up, homie. There's like no tears. We have no tears. Prison hardens your heart, and all it does, it gives a knot in your throat. And every time I get to when my love members died, my loved ones died. My brother, when it killed my brother, and I was mad at myself because I couldn't cry for him. And he also sent me a message to my mom, like, hey, he said, don't cry, man, just be strong, keep pushing, and he loves you. Because before he died, he was able to leave everybody a message. Because he was hooked to up to a life support machine, and it was in Mexico, and we couldn't afford it. Mexico's ugly. Well, as far as the hospital thing, if you ain't got money, they won't keep you alive. You gotta disconnect, because you ain't paying. It's cagazo for you. You don't got the money, they can't keep you alive. So yeah, my mom, they didn't have the money to keep them alive, and yeah, I've been able to cry. So I got so much balled in. I told my mom, like, I ain't lying, because she knows I'm super sentimental. You're the only one like that. You're like me. I go, I know, Mom. I'm scared that if I cry, I'm never gonna be able to stop. Especially because I know the truth. I know that I'm innocent. I know that I didn't kill nobody. But I am guilty for putting that man in a spot where that happened to him. I knew the guys were dangerous. I knew there was a high possibility that there was something real serious could happen, and I put him there. It's my fault he did. Yes, I didn't actually pull the trigger, but I did kill him by putting him there. And that's what I'm trying to tell the board. Like, yeah, I didn't kill. I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't kill the dude, but I put him there. So that's almost the same thing, like a murder for hire kind of thing. When you pay somebody to go kill somebody, it's almost the same thing. I knew it was dangerous, and yeah, he's gone, and I know the hurt because I seen how my mom hurt when my brother died. I seen my dad hurt. So yeah, I got remorse. I got real hard remorse. But yeah, I'm working on myself, man. I'm trying to make it out. I don't want to die in here. I really don't. I think I got a lot of good in me.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. We're getting down really short right now. We're about to be hitting. I think about 2 minutes left before the we're cut off, and she lets us know that we're short. So what do you think? Do you think you'll be available tomorrow so we could go ahead and continue down your journey, or do you want to take a break? How do you feel?
I think yeah. I'll let you know. Like, I'll take. Oh, did you get the text when I told you that? Okay, so real quick. So Letty put like she put some money on my tablet, and it was supposed to be just for the texting, right? Mm-hmm. But man, I heard they changed the movies. Somebody was like, "Hey, they put new movies on the tablet because they didn't have no movies, so I haven't bought them." So I went and bought the movies, right? I said, "Oh shit, I gotta check that out." So I bought the movies, right? And they're like, "Hey, they changed the music too." They got because it's just like buying Netflix out there, but we got like a little so chop a little version of it in here. And it's not expensive, it's $1.99 a month, it's nothing. And then the music is $5.49 a month. The music is more expensive, man. But I gotta get it, I love music. So I bought the music, I bought the movies, I bought the news, because you gotta also, they give you they give you a bunch, and like any news around the world, it's like an app with nothing but news. So I bought all that. But I was buying it thinking I still had, I didn't pay attention to how much money was on the tablet. And I forgot I did three video visits, and the video visits were like $2. So I had forgotten about that. So by the time I punched all that in, and I seen I only had like 62 cents left. I was like, oh shit. So I haven't really been texting her much, and I don't even know how to tell her. She's not gonna get mad, she's good. She's cool.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have 60 seconds remaining.
Damn,
But yeah,
Javier,
yeah, man,
you blew
yeah.
all the fatty already. Come on, man.
Ah! What's up? Yeah, she's so funny, but she's so good about it. She's just gonna say, "You fucking pendejo," you know. But you know what? My sisters are pretty good. Like, you know, I don't like to ask, man. Like, that's the only thing I have a hard time is putting money in my tablet because it's gotta go through a different route. Like, I'm self-sufficient as far as providing for my eating and all that, but yeah, from the charity, I gotta ask my mom, and then my mom tells my sister tells her daughter, because my sister she don't know how to do that, so her daughter's the one that goes to JP and says like, oh, I don't ask for much, you know, like $25, $10, sometimes $15, but yeah, and it lasts me, you know, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but it's worth it, man, because you know I get company, I have company. It's about to hang up, man. So,
All right.
but yeah, I'll give you a call and I'll.
All right, all right. So he went ahead and burned through those the last 60 seconds. But you know, I want to go ahead and thank you guys, you know, for tuning in and listening to this conversation. We've been on for what is it, an hour and 37 minutes. So I believe we're gonna be going live again tomorrow. I'll try to do it a little bit earlier. I try to do them a little bit earlier, but sometimes, you know, it just, you know, life, you know, gets in the way, and you know, real world activities, you know, going on out there. So today, my wife planned for us to go visit this local I guess you would call it like a little like a Christmas light show. So we went ahead and, you know, we took our 5 year old there. She was excited, you know, wanted to see Santa Claus, and my wife wanted to go for the hot chocolate. So we went ahead and did that. I met up with them over there in and we did that for a little bit, and then, you know, we ended up coming back home, and I went ahead and set up a call, you know, while on the way driving back. I went ahead and reached out to Javier and asked him if he was available, and he was. So that's what we ran it at. What was it? I think we started. Was it at 8:30, almost 9? Anyhow, yeah. I appreciate you guys, you know, tuning in, and we'll go ahead and hopefully be back on tomorrow. So with that, go ahead. You guys go ahead and have a good night, and we'll be seeing each other shortly.